The great chamber of the alien council was alive with noise. Hundreds of voices echoed across the tall walls of glass and steel. Leaders from every star nation argued, each one trying to prove their power, their wisdom, their importance. For ages, the council ruled the galaxy. No war started, no empire fell, and no planet rose without their blessing. They felt safe. They felt untouchable. That safety ended with one signal. A soft chime broke through the noise. At first, no one cared. The sound of incoming transmissions was common, nothing unusual. But then the walls of the chamber shimmered, and a massive hologram appeared in the air. It was a fleet report. The words were short, almost simple. Unidentified human vessel detected. Class unknown. The room paused. Only a moment, but enough for silence to spread like fire. Then laughter came. Some of the counselors laughed so hard they could barely sit upright. Humans, one shouted. The dirt dwellers of Sol? The primitives who still argue among themselves. Others joined. They mocked the report, called it a mistake, or a joke by lower officers. After all, humanity was small. Humanity was young. They were not part of the council, only an observer species. They were not even trusted with full rights. The council believed they were nothing. But the fleet officers who sent the report were not laughing. Another message followed. This one had no words. Only an image. A ship. A ship so large it filled the screen edge to edge. Its black hull reflected no light. Its surface was covered in lines of strange armor, plates thicker than the warships of any empire. Weapons stretched across its body, glowing faintly, but silent. A Titan-class warship. The council chamber froze. The laughter died. The words, Titan-class, were spoken by a trembling voice. No one answered. Everyone knew what it meant. No council empire had such a ship. Not one. Titan-class vessels were only theories, ideas spoken of in research halls, dreams for a future far away. But now, one floated in space. Real. Alive. And it belonged to humanity. The High Speaker of the Council tried to calm the room. His voice shook as he said, "It must be false data. A trick. Humans cannot build this." But his own screens betrayed him. The ship grew larger on the hologram, as if moving closer. Alien scientists confirmed the readings. Mass beyond measure. Energy levels unknown. Every defense scanner screamed warnings. No mistake. No trick. The council leaders began to whisper. Their voices carried fear now, not pride. How did humans build this? How did they hide it? Why now? None had answers. The chamber that once overflowed with arrogance now tasted of dread. One general of a warrior species slammed his claw on the desk. "We must destroy it. Attack now, before it comes closer." But another leader hissed in reply, "Fool! If it is so strong, then our fleets will die in seconds. Do you wish to bring war to the heart of the council?" The argument spread. Some called for immediate attack. Some begged for talks. Others sat in silence, their eyes locked on the terrible black ship that refused to move. And then, the ship acted. Not with weapons. Not with speed. But with silence. It powered its engines for the first time, glowing blue like a rising star. The entire chamber felt it. Not through their eyes, but through their bones, as if the warship itself pressed down on the galaxy. It was not a vessel. It was a judgment. The chamber's air seemed thin. Breathing grew hard. No one spoke now. The ship loomed in the hologram, closer, larger, heavier with every passing second. Its weapons remained cold, but the fear was worse. No one knew why it had come. No one knew what it wanted. They only knew one thing: humanity had arrived, and the council had never been so quiet. The High Speaker lowered his head. For the first time in living memory, the ruler of the galaxy had no words. Outside, the Titan-class warship floated in silence, its shadow stretching across the stars. And the council chamber echoed with fear, a silence deeper than war, deeper than death. The silence before arrival. The silence in the council chamber stretched on, heavier than stone. The alien leaders sat frozen, staring at the black hull of the human Titan-class warship displayed above them. It was not moving closer, not firing, not even speaking, yet its very presence pressed on their minds like a storm waiting to break. The High Speaker finally tried to find his voice. His long fingers shook as he tapped the communication crystal before him. "We must remain calm," he said, but his voice cracked, and the words fell weak into the room. The other leaders were not calm. Fear poured through the chamber like water through a broken dam. Whispers turned to shouts, shouts turned to arguments, and the proud rulers of empires lost all their dignity in panic. A general from the Kreth Empire slammed his armored fist on the table. "Attack now! Our fleets must not hesitate. Strike first, or we will be remembered as cowards." His eyes glowed with rage, but the counselor beside him shook her scaled head. "Attack? Against that?" She pointed with a trembling claw at the massive ship. "Look at it. You saw what the scans said. No known energy readings. Its shields are beyond anything we understand. One shot from that ship could wipe out a world." "Better war than slavery," the Kreth general roared. "Better to die with honor than kneel to humans." His words sparked a wave of angry replies. Some shouted for war, others demanded caution, and a few whispered the unthinkable, that perhaps surrender was the only path to survival. The chamber grew louder, voices crashing against each other in a storm of fear and pride. But then, the hologram shifted. The human warship had moved. Slowly, with terrifying grace, it rotated until its front weapons faced the fleets that guarded the council world. Dozens of alien admirals, watching from their ships in orbit, began sending frantic reports. Their fleets surrounded the Titan, but it was like children surrounding a giant. Thousands of warships, proud and ready, but they looked like insects compared to the human vessel. The council listened as one admiral's voice screamed through the speakers. "It does not answer our hails. We have called it again and again, no response. Its weapons are powering. No, wait, it is something else. Unknown energy detected." Scientists inside the chamber scrambled at their stations. Their equipment buzzed with data, lines of strange code no one could explain. The human ship was not firing. It was broadcasting. A signal spread across every channel, forcing its way into every system. Alarms blared as council translators tried to catch up. "It's rewriting our language filters," one technician cried. "It's forcing us to listen." The sound filled the chamber, a deep hum that vibrated in the bones. The leaders clutched their ears, their hearts racing as the strange noise grew sharper, clearer. Suddenly, the hum broke into words. Words that carried across every tongue, every ear, every mind in the chamber. Only one word. "Observe." The chamber went dead silent. No one dared to breathe. The word hung in the air, simple yet crushing. "Observe." The counselors looked at each other in shock. What did it mean? Was it a warning? A command? A threat? Fear swelled until it felt unbearable. The High Speaker stood, trying to take control once more. "Perhaps they only wish to be seen," he said weakly. "Perhaps humanity seeks recognition at last." But the others did not agree. "Recognition? Do you call this recognition?" one shouted. "They bring a weapon of gods to our world and say, 'Observe'? No, Speaker. They are not asking for respect. They are showing us what we cannot stop." Another voice added, "If they can build this, what else do they hide? How many of these ships are waiting behind the stars?" The thought spread like poison. What if there was not one Titan-class warship? What if humanity had a fleet of them, hidden, waiting, ready to sweep across the galaxy? A cold dread fell on every leader. Their empires, their fleets, their weapons, all suddenly felt small, fragile, useless. The Kreth general stood again, his pride barely holding back his fear. We cannot sit in silence while humans threaten us. I will order my fleets to attack. Let the galaxy know that the Kreth do not bow. But before he could finish, another counselor spoke, her voice shaking but steady. You fool! Do you not see? They have not attacked. They have only shown themselves. If they wished us dead, we would already be ash. Her words struck the chamber hard. Everyone knew she was right. The ship had every chance to destroy their fleets, their world, the council itself. Yet it had not fired a single shot. That was worse than war. It meant the humans were in control, completely and utterly. They chose not to kill, and that choice alone was terrifying. The chamber quieted once more. Every leader sat in silence, their minds racing, their hearts heavy. The warship floated above their world, still and waiting. The single word echoed again across the systems. Observe. As if the humans wanted the council to watch, to witness something none of them could yet imagine. The High Speaker lowered his head. He could not hide his fear any longer. In that moment, every leader in the chamber knew the truth. The galaxy had changed. Humanity was no longer a minor race on the edge of space. They had built something the council could not fight, could not understand, and could not ignore. And the worst part was not knowing what would happen next. The chamber sat in silence, the kind of silence that burned in the chest, the kind of silence that made the air itself feel heavy. Every eye returned to the warship, to the dark shape that hung like a shadow across the stars. What were the humans planning? What would they do next? None could say. But every leader knew one thing: nothing would ever be the same again. The Titan-class warship hung in silence, its black hull reflecting no stars, its weapons cold but menacing. The council chamber was trapped between fear and disbelief. No one dared to speak loudly. Every whisper carried the weight of doom. The fleets in orbit, thousands of ships from dozens of empires, waited for orders, but no order came. They were afraid. Then, without warning, the human ship moved. Not a great rush, not a violent attack, but a slow turn, a precise adjustment, as if acknowledging the fleets that surrounded it. Every admiral's heart pounded. Every weapon system locked on the Titan, but none fired. A voice from the Kreth Admiralty screamed through the speakers. It is mocking us. They surround us, and yet they do not fear. Shall we sit like cowards while it points its guns at our worlds? Panic and pride boiled together. Finally, the order came. Not from the council, not from the High Speaker, but from one desperate commander in orbit. Fire a warning volley, he said, his voice heavy with fear. Make them understand we will not bow. A ripple of light flashed through space as hundreds of plasma bolts shot toward the Titan. The chamber filled with gasps as they watched the attack on the hologram. The glowing streams of energy reached the warship and vanished. No explosion, no shield flare, no reaction. The weapons simply dissolved, swallowed by the darkness of the Titan's hull. Impossible, a scientist whispered. No material can do this. No defense is so perfect. The Kreth general growled. Then fire again. Stronger. But before more orders could be given, the Titan responded. It did not unleash destruction. Instead, the vast ship pulsed with light, and a wave of energy burst from its core. It was not a weapon. It was a signal. Every fleet, every station, every system connected to the council felt it. The wave entered their computers, their comms, their very translation systems. Screens flashed, voices cried, alarms rang. The Titan was inside their networks, bending them, shaping them. Technicians in the chamber shouted as streams of alien text raced across their consoles. It is rewriting our systems again. It's overriding everything. Panic struck as ships in orbit reported malfunctions. Guidance systems froze. Targeting sensors went blind. Engines stalled. Yet the Titan left them alive. It did not destroy their fleets, though it could have with one strike. Instead, it forced every system to broadcast a single sound across the galaxy. A tone, deep and resonant, echoing through space. It was not random. It was a pattern, a code. The Council's best translators struggled to break it, their eyes wide with horror as they realized it was not in any known tongue. The noise grew sharper, deeper, until it became words. Words that spoke in every alien mind, clear and undeniable. "We are humanity." The chamber fell into dead silence. The words rolled through their thoughts, uninvited, unstoppable. Every leader sat frozen, their eyes wide, their throats dry. Humanity had never spoken in the council chambers before. Now their voice filled it as if the galaxy itself carried their message. More words followed. "You fire. We stand. You strike. We remain. Observe." The same word again. Observe. Only this time it came with weight, with command, with authority no one dared question. The Titan's hull glowed faintly as though breathing, alive with silent power. In orbit, admirals screamed for guidance. Fleets had their weapons ready, but none worked properly. Systems blinked, targeting scrambled, shields cracked under invisible pressure. The warship was not only beyond their weapons, it was beyond their understanding. And then the demonstration began. The Titan turned away from the fleets and faced a barren moon near the Council homeworld. With a flash of light, one beam emerged from its side. Thin, silent, precise. The beam cut into the moon's surface. At first it seemed small, like a line drawn across stone. Then the ground split. Fire erupted. The moon cracked in two. The chamber erupted in screams. No weapon in the galaxy had ever shown such precision, such raw force, such control. The halves of the moon drifted apart, glowing red, spilling fire into space. The Titan powered down, silent again, its task complete. The meaning was clear. It could destroy them. It had chosen not to. The High Speaker gripped the edges of his seat, his eyes filled with terror. "Why?" he whispered. "Why show us this?" No one answered. No one could. The counselors could only stare at the broken moon drifting across the screen, a wound in the sky, a warning from humanity. Some leaders lowered their heads, their pride broken. Others clenched their fists, their anger rising. But all felt the same truth. Humanity had proven its power without firing at them. The demonstration was the first test. Not of weapons but of fear. The message was clear, the Council was not in control anymore. And yet, the worst part was still unknown. What came after the warning? What would humanity demand? The silence of the chamber grew heavier, and in that silence, the Council understood that this was only the beginning. The moon was gone. Split apart like a child's toy, drifting into two glowing halves, its pieces burning as they fell into darkness. The Council chamber sat in silence, the kind of silence that made hearts pound louder than voices. Leaders from every corner of the galaxy stared at the hologram, unable to look away. They had seen war, destruction, and death before. But nothing like this. This was not chaos. This was control. The human Titan had fired one beam, not to kill, not to wage war, but to demonstrate. A message carved into stone and flame: we hold power beyond your imagination. The High Speaker finally found his breath. His words cracked. This is impossible. One ship cannot do this. But even as he spoke, he knew it was true. The evidence drifted in space for all to see. A lifeless moon broken apart, not shattered wildly but cut with surgical precision, as if humanity had chosen every crack, every line. A warrior leader stood, his scales trembling. "We cannot wait. If they turn that weapon on our worlds, we are finished." His voice was strong, but his eyes betrayed fear. Another voice rose, softer but sharper. "Do you not see? If they wanted us destroyed, we would already be ash. They do not come to kill. They come to show us." The word "show" spread across the chamber. Show us. Show the galaxy. Humanity had revealed their hand, but only a piece of it. The warship floated silent once more, weapons powered down, its engines glowing faintly. It looked patient. It looked deliberate. As though the destruction of the moon was not a threat but a lesson. And still, no words came. The ship gave no demands, no negotiations, no explanation. That silence was worse than an army. The counselors argued again, voices rising into fear-filled chaos. Some demanded peace talks, others screamed for an immediate strike. The Kreth general raised his voice above all, spitting rage. They humiliate us. They cut our moon apart like it was nothing. If we do not fight now, then every empire will bow before Earth. His fist slammed against the table, the sound echoing through the chamber. But his rage did not erase the fear in his eyes. He knew what the others knew. Their fleets could not win. The admirals in orbit tried again to regroup. Thousands of warships surrounded the Titan, but none dared to fire. Some captains begged for permission to retreat. Others locked weapons but trembled as their targeting systems failed again and again. No one could bring themselves to press the trigger. The Titan had already shown it could not be hurt. A scientist in the chamber spoke, her voice shaking but firm. This was not an attack. It was a demonstration. They chose a lifeless moon, not our world. They are telling us something, but what? The question froze the room. What did humanity want? Why appear now, after centuries of silence, only to arrive with such terrifying power? The mystery was worse than the fear. The chamber screens shifted again, showing a closer view of the Titan. Its hull was covered in scars, burns, and marks of battles past. Yet it still stood strong, unbroken, like a predator that had survived every hunt. Those scars whispered of wars the Council had never seen, enemies they did not know. Humanity had fought something before, something powerful enough to leave marks on this impossible warship. And they had won. If this is only one ship, one counselor muttered, then how many more do they have? The words hit the chamber like a knife. No one wanted to answer, but every mind reached the same dark thought. If humanity had one Titan, they could have more. If they had more, the galaxy was already lost. The High Speaker raised his hands for silence, though his own voice shook. We must wait. We must not act blindly. The humans have not struck us. They have not spoken. Until they do, we. His words ended abruptly. The hologram flickered. The Titan pulsed again, a glow rippling along its hull. A wave of energy burst out, not toward the fleets this time, but toward the chamber itself. Consoles sparked. Screens flickered. Lights dimmed. Then an image filled every wall, every display, every mind. The image was of the Council itself. Their faces, their chamber, their fear. The Titan was watching them, recording them, sending their own terror back at them. Gasps echoed. Some leaders hid their faces, others roared in anger. But none could deny the truth. Humanity wanted them to see themselves, weak, afraid, divided. The voice returned, deeper this time, vibrating through bone and metal. Only 2 words this time. Choose wisely. Then silence. The hologram faded back to the broken moon, drifting apart in flames. The Titan floated as before, silent, waiting. The council chamber erupted again, but now the fear was worse than before. The humans had not attacked. They had not asked for surrender. They had not demanded tribute. They had given only a warning. A demonstration of power so great it crushed the galaxy's pride in a single strike. And now, the council was left with the hardest question in their long history. What choice would they make? The council chamber shook with voices. The silence that once held them was broken by shouts, threats, and desperate cries. The image of the split moon still glowed above them, a burning reminder of what the human Titan had done with a single beam. Fear and anger twisted together until the proud rulers of empires looked more like cornered animals than leaders of a galaxy. The Kreth general roared above the others, his clawed hand raised. We cannot sit here and beg for our lives. If we do nothing, the humans will take everything. We must unite our fleets. We must attack now, before they bring more ships. His words struck with force, and many warriors in the chamber pounded their fists in agreement. But others resisted. A tall counselor from the Serali leaned forward, her voice calm but trembling. Attack? You saw what happened. Our weapons vanished before they touched its hull. You would send millions of soldiers to die for nothing. No fleet can win against that. Her words spread uneasily through the chamber. She was right. They all knew it. The Titan had faced their warning shots as if swatting away dust. Their technology, their pride, their power meant nothing against humanity's creation. But pride was not so easily silenced. The Kreth general hissed, his eyes burning. Better death than slavery. Better war than kneeling. His voice cracked with rage, but behind it was fear he could not hide. Another voice rose from the shadows of the chamber. An elder of the Vera, his long tendrils coiled around his chair, spoke slowly. We are fools if we believe this is about war alone. They did not attack us. They did not destroy our fleets. They chose an empty moon. They are not asking us to fight. They are warning us. They are testing us. The word testing spread like cold water across the room. Many counselors shifted in their seats, uneasy, uncertain. If this was a test, then what were they being tested for? What was humanity waiting for them to prove, or to fail? A young voice shouted suddenly from the chamber floor. A lesser delegate from a minor world, his face pale, stood and cried, "We must surrender. We must kneel before them before it is too late." The chamber erupted with fury. Shouts of coward, traitor, weakling filled the air. Guards dragged him away, but his words lingered like smoke. For the first time, the thought of surrender was no longer unthinkable. It was real, and it was spreading. The high speaker stood, his voice strained but commanding. Order! Order in this chamber. Slowly the chaos dimmed, but the fear did not. His eyes swept across the crowd of leaders. We face a power unlike any before. We do not yet know what they want, but we must not fall to fear. We must speak with one voice, or we will all fall alone. His call for unity was brave, but no one believed it. Old rivalries boiled beneath the surface. The Kreth wanted war. The Serali wanted caution. The Vera wanted answers. And now, whispers of surrender spread in the shadows. Unity was a dream slipping through their fingers. Reports from orbit filled the chamber. The fleets surrounding the Titan were restless. Captains demanded orders. Some prepared to retreat without permission. Others whispered of joining together for a strike, even against council law. The warship remained still, as if mocking their division. Every moment it floated there, silent, waiting, their fear grew sharper. A scientist rose again, his hands trembling. We have intercepted fragments of another signal from the Titan, he said. The chamber leaned in, desperate for answers. It is incomplete, but the meaning is clear enough. His voice dropped to a whisper. They are not here to speak. They are not here to ask. They are here to judge. The word hit the chamber like a blade. Judge. The counselors stared at one another, horror filling their eyes. If this was judgment, then the test was already happening. Humanity was watching their every word, their every choice. Their anger, their pride, their division, it was all being measured. Then we are already failing, the Serali counselor whispered. The chamber fell quiet again, but the quiet was not peace. It was fear tightening its grip. The Kreth general slammed his fist once more. Then let them judge us in war. Let them see our fire before our fear. But his roar felt hollow now, a desperate cry against the truth they could no longer deny. The council was divided. No voice could unite them. Humanity had shown them their weakness without firing a single shot. They had split the chamber more easily than they split the moon. Above them, the Titan loomed in silence, its shadow stretching across their world. It did not need to attack. Its very presence was enough to tear the council apart. And in that silence, every leader felt the same cold thought. If this was only the beginning, Then what would the end look like? The Titan moved at last. For days it had floated in silence, a dark shape that eclipsed the stars, but now faint lights ran across its hull like veins of fire. The council chamber froze. Every screen lit up at once, not by their command but by the will of the ship itself. Voices died, movements stilled, and even the Kreth general's roar turned to silence. A single figure appeared on the projection, clear and sharp as if the human stood in the room itself. He wore no armor, no crown, no symbols of power. His uniform was simple, his posture steady. But his eyes carried the weight of something far greater. For a long moment he said nothing. His silence was louder than any speech, and the chamber held its breath. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, but every word cut like a blade. "We are humanity," he said. "We did not come to conquer. We did not come to beg. We came to warn." The chamber shivered. The Serali counselor leaned forward, her lips trembling. The humans had spoken at last, and their words were more terrifying than silence. The human's gaze moved slowly across the leaders as if he could see each of them through the projection. "Your wars have burned systems. Your greed has consumed worlds. Your council speaks of peace while your fleets spread blood across the stars. We have watched long enough." A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Vera elder's tendrils tightened around his chair. The Kreth general clenched his fists, fury masking fear. The human raised a hand, and the murmurs died. "We are not your enemy," he continued. "But we will not allow your chaos to spread further. We stand as judgment. We stand as the wall you cannot cross. You have one choice: end your wars, or face the end of them by our hand." The words echoed like thunder. Judgment. Choice. End. The council chamber trembled with their weight. For the first time in memory, no one shouted back. The Kreth general opened his mouth to roar, but found no voice. His pride faltered beneath the cold truth. The human spoke again, softer now but heavier than before. "We did not destroy your fleets. We could have. We chose the moon instead, so you would see what waits for you should you continue. That was mercy. Do not mistake it for weakness." He paused, and in that pause the galaxy itself seemed to hold still. "We give you 7 cycles," he said at last. 7 cycles to choose. Unite in peace, or unite in destruction. Humanity will wait. But we will not wait forever. The image flickered, then vanished. The lights on the Titan dimmed back into silence, but the weight of its words remained like iron in the air. The chamber erupted, not with anger this time, but with panic. Some shouted that it was impossible, that no species could dictate the council's laws. Others cried that they had no choice, that resistance meant extinction. Old enemies turned on one another, not with weapons but with words sharp enough to draw blood. The Serali counselor whispered to herself, 7 cycles, 7 chances to live. Her words spread, repeated by others, until the phrase clung to the chamber like a curse. The Vera elder spoke, his voice trembling with fear. "They are not conquerors. They are executioners. And they have already passed their judgment." The Kreth general slammed his claw into the table, shattering its edge, his pride desperate to survive. "No. They think themselves gods, but they bleed like any other. If we strike together now, before more of them arrive," his voice cracked, and even his loyal followers looked uncertain. The image of the moon, split in two with a single beam, replayed in their minds. One ship had done that. One. What would an armada do? Fear spread faster than his rage could burn. Reports from orbit showed the Titan had not moved. It simply waited, patient and silent, as though time itself served humanity. The fleets outside hesitated, caught between duty and survival. Captains who once swore loyalty to the council now whispered of retreat, of saving their own worlds before the 7 cycles ended. Inside the chamber, the high speaker rose, his voice shaking. "We have been given a choice," he said. "We must decide, war or surrender, pride or survival." His words brought no unity, only deeper division. Some demanded negotiations. Others demanded war. A few whispered that perhaps surrender was already too late. Above them, unseen but always present, the Titan remained, a shadow over their world. The Council could no longer hide behind words. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same. 7 cycles. 7 chances. That was all they had left. The first cycle passed, and the Council had no answer. The Titan remained above their skies, silent and unmoving, yet its presence weighed heavier than any fleet. Across the chamber, fear festered and suspicion grew. Old allies accused each other of plotting secret deals with the humans, while old enemies whispered that unity was now the only hope of survival. Every world under Council rule trembled. Citizens demanded protection, soldiers questioned their leaders, and fleets hesitated to move without knowing if the Titan watched. The silence of the human ship was worse than an attack. It was judgment waiting, and the galaxy could feel the ticking of each cycle like a drumbeat of doom. On the second cycle, the Kreth general summoned his fleets in secret. He spoke of glory and vengeance, swearing that the humans could be broken if the Council struck together. Yet even among his warriors, whispers of doubt spread. Some had seen the images of the shattered moon too many times to believe victory possible. When one of his captains asked how they could fight something that had not even fired upon their fleets, only destroyed a world with casual ease, the general struck him down on the spot. But fear had already taken root. By the third cycle, the Serali counselor had begun forming another plan. Instead of war, she called for negotiation, a desperate attempt to save what little they could. She argued that humanity had shown mercy once, and perhaps mercy could be earned again. But her voice was drowned in the chamber. The Vera elder shouted that negotiations meant weakness, that even speaking of surrender was betrayal to the thousands of lives already lost in war. The chamber turned into chaos, arguments breaking into near violence. Humanity's silence was splitting the Council faster than any battle ever had. By the fourth cycle, fleets began to withdraw from Council space. Captains chose to return home, abandoning their posts, unwilling to risk their worlds for leaders who could not decide. The High Speaker tried to order them back, but his commands carried no weight against the image of the Titan hanging over their skies. Some worlds began building shelters underground, believing the humans would burn their surface if the Council chose wrong. Others prayed to gods long forgotten, begging for deliverance from the judgment that had come from Earth. On the fifth cycle, something changed. The Titan stirred. A beam of light stretched from its hull, reaching into the void, scanning across systems like the gaze of a predator searching for prey. No shot fired, no world burned, but the meaning was clear, it was watching them all. The chamber fell into terror. The High Speaker demanded a response be sent, any response, but the Council could not agree. Every attempt at a united message collapsed into shouting. The Kreth general still roared for war, the Serali counselor pleaded for peace, the Vera elder cried for survival, and none listened to the other. And the Titan only watched. On the sixth cycle, betrayal was whispered in the halls. Some believed humanity had already spoken with one of the Council species in secret. Others believed the Titan was not alone, that more ships hid beyond their sight, waiting for the order to strike. Paranoia tore through the chamber like fire. Blame turned into threats, threats into near bloodshed. Guards had to separate delegates before weapons were drawn. Outside, the stars seemed colder, the void more dangerous than ever. Then came the seventh cycle. The chamber was silent, not by choice but by fear. Every leader, every delegate, every voice that once filled the hall with endless argument now sat frozen, waiting. The cycle was ending, and with it came the judgment promised. The Council screens lit up once more, unbidden. The Titan filled their vision, vast and unshaken. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice, steady, calm, and final, echoed through the chamber. The 7 cycles are complete. The words fell like stone. The chamber shuddered, breaths held, eyes wide. Humanity's voice returned, sharp and cold. You have chosen your path.